dead working for the man, and generally I agree with them. Trouble is you gotta have yourself an alternate plan, and I have earned my disillusionment.
Since humans can remember, there have been unrealistic ideals of a perfect world. They sound all pretty and stuff, but they're still unrealistic. And unrealistic ideals can often be very harmful to the emotional health of normal people, causing them to dream instead of to live, causing them to wish inactively and not work for the dream, causing a severe inability to accept reality. Take, for example, this really stupid passage from the prophet Isaiah. Here's how it reads. It says, "The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear, the hen will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox." And all this other ridiculous kind of bullshit. Okay, now first of all, if the animals represented here were representing different people, then you can't exactly achieve this goal by, as the religious constantly do, throwing out all the lambs or the donkeys or the squirrels. So, if you imagine them representing people, you can't throw out the gays or the blacks or the Jews or anybody of any kind, because then the only ones you want to throw out to make this kind of image work are the ones who bite, who hate, who preach against others. And usually, those are ignorant, religious, redneck assholes. But really, that even still goes against our nature as humans. You can't make everyone accept each other. If you go back to the metaphor of them being animals again, and you'll understand quickly the horrors that would have to be committed to make this come true. Wolves naturally eat lambs, so you'd have to make the wolf ashamed of his very nature. Then, you'd have to give the lamb shock treatment so that he'd stop stereotyping by reacting with fear at wolves. Then you'd have to force them into retarded anger management courses and shock treatment therapy and sensitivity training, and maybe something bizarre like chemical castration, only instead it would be like, something that would make the animals of prey stop craving the animals that they prey upon. And everyone would have to be altered and told that something is wrong with them fundamentally. Now, a much wiser story than this, that also involves animals, but it considers the feelings of that animal, comes to us from the Zen path. There was a lion that was brought up by sheep because he was found by the farmer who raised those sheep as an infant abandoned by its mom. And so the lion ended up thinking that he was a sheep and was, treating them as like they were his brothers and sisters. So, of course, he grew older. And these crazy little urges of wanting to devour them, he kept wondering, what's wrong with me? Why would I want to murder and eat my own brothers and sisters? Finally, another lion grabs him, kidnaps him, takes him to a pond and shows him his own reflection so that he understands who he really is. It's a much wiser story indeed. So the lion is conditioned to feeling a certain way and then wonders what's wrong with him when his nature, his very nature, starts to scream within himself. This is something we can all relate to as human beings, because we too have been made to obey and take on personalities that are accepted, but are not at all naturally who we truly are. Originally, people lived in tribes and experienced a sense of xenophobia when they saw other peoples. This was natural. It still happens if you take a dog to somebody else's house who already has dogs. You can preach all day long that xenophobia is wrong in some way, but tell me, the Native Americans would have been wrong to feel it when Europe invaded. Perhaps they didn't have enough mistrust of us, really. But now that we're all forced to live in one big melting pot, we've decided hate and racism is wrong, and that's understandable. So now the idea of paradise is for everybody to love one another. Well, I sure don't want everybody to hate one another, that's not what I'm saying, but at the same time, you still have to do some pretty bad things to people to make them all accept each other. Face it, many personalities that are widely accepted in our society are accepted not because we've accepted that race or their culture, but because the person from that race has tried to act white. If tribes don't wish to be assimilated into our way of living, we can't go telling them that they're being racist against us for not accepting our way. They just want to be left alone. That's not wrong. That's a voice we should have listened to all along before we brought over people of other races to be our slaves. I'm all for the emancipation, but I'd rather it have never even have happened in the first place that they were brought over to be slaves. Because then people of all kinds could be raised as they were meant to and live in a great life with their own people in their own culture, instead of feeling the natural need for such a culture but instead being forced to live in our conditioning, always wondering what's wrong. We're all kind of lions, really. So that's not any one race, and that's not a racial statement. I think we all feel that pull. I know for a fact that I do. So today's attempt to make everybody love one another can often become a horrible thought-policing concept, which I don't want that either. And that's difficult because I don't want hate, but I don't want thought-policing. And that makes things really difficult and gives me a very hard place to defend. Today's utopian idea is monetary equality. Everyone treated equal. Everyone having equal pay. Everyone having equal everything, but everyone's still in one single way of life. One single economy. Yeah, that's going to work really well. Lots of us don't want to have to take part in that economy. Thank you very much. A free market, if you ask me, also has to have the option to not take part in it if a person doesn't want to. And that's not proving to be a practice of this economy, not if everything's owned and has to be purchased with money.
Or how about when the Native American Indians and other indigenous cultures talk about living with the earth? Like, people are going to do that, yeah. And then they start talking about taking care of their poor and the elderly and their children. Don't they know that this won't work in today's world, and that people are evil and they need to be controlled?
Wait a minute. But that is the way that they lived for countless generations.
Yeah, but we're here now, so they have to stop.
Okay, why?
Because that's just a pipe dream. Look, people have been this way for centuries.
Yeah, but they lived that way for several millennia, doing just fine.
Yeah, but they're dying now.
Yeah, because we're killing them. Maybe, if we didn't.
Yeah, well, we're not going to stop.
Okay, wait a minute. So you're saying that your way is better because your way wins? Your way isn't better. It's just winning because you're killing.
It's utopian to think we could ever stop.
Yeah, well, maybe it's not them who's being utopian. Maybe it's you. I mean, have you ever heard the term sustainability?
No, because I don't listen to liberal mumbo-jumbo. Ever heard of survival of the fittest?
Oh, you're going to be a piece of work. Listen, life doesn't actually work on the idea of survival of the fittest, okay? It actually works on the idea of the survival of the ones most able to adapt. The only reason life is dying is due to the fact that we are creating a situation that is too difficult for things to adapt to, and not in a natural way. Sustainable living is actually an evolutionary trend. Many weaker creatures surpass stronger ones simply because of their weaknesses. The stronger ones are too strong, so the strong very quickly destroy all of their food supply by eating it, and then they have nothing left to eat and they die off. We don't believe this, we know it. We see it happen all the time in the world of bacterial and viral infections. Those that are too strong suddenly kill off the people that are infected too quickly before they're able to spread out even further. It's just like the Ebola virus. No outbreak ever goes very far.
So for man to survive, it's not going to be because we're stronger, but because we have to adapt.